Every day, thousands of people hit the road heading towards their dreams. But sometimes those dreams collide with a harsh reality. Auto accidents with 18-wheelers can change lives in an instant. That's why you need the experience and expertise of St. Martin and Bork. With over 50 years of experience, St. Martin and Bork have fought for justice for the victims of truck accidents.
If you've been in a wreck with an 18-wheeler, know your rights.
Call St. Martin and Bork today to schedule your free consultation.
Everybody, welcome back to Bayou Time. Harry McCullough here. Spend some time, next couple of segments, talking about the Terrebonne Parish schools with their superintendent, Mr. Barbara Ogeron. It's good to have you in this building, not talking about South Lafourche football and being a quarterback,
right.
you and A-Bear and everybody else we always talk about. But we are celebrating a number one event, not number one in the state, but number one in the country. Terrebonne Parish School District, number one district in the country regarding gains among large school districts and low-income school districts. Tell me a little bit about this. So that's number one in the country. What a great honor. So after COVID and the gap after COVID.
Yeah, right. So what they were seeing right after COVID was obviously kids were out of school, doing virtual, and that didn't really pan out like everybody thought virtual would, right? A lot of people thought that might have been the future of education. Let's go virtual. Well, we tried virtual. And it didn't really work.
Teach everybody.
It didn't really work all that way. And that's very cost effective, right?
Right.
But there's nothing that replaces a teacher in front of kids, in my opinion. And research will back that up. It might be for some kids virtual, but for the majority of kids, a teacher who's motivating and captivating and really understands curriculum and standards, you can't ask for better. So what they soon saw after COVID was learning gaps. You get into the year two or the first year after COVID, and kids lost so much learning. And I talked to staff this morning about that. We didn't really see that. Like I'm not saying it was non-existent, but we didn't see those big gaps right out of the gate. Teachers kind of picked up where we left off, kept pushing, kept having high expectations, and I kind of thought this whole learning gap thing was almost a myth, because we didn't have it. Our scores never let up. We kind of stayed even where we were at kind of pre-COVID, and we started to kind of catch up, a little bit at a time. Well, 4 years later, this research group from Harvard and Dartmouth and Stanford put together this major study on the learning gaps created from COVID. And lo and behold, Terrebonne Parish had the highest growth in reading in particular. We did really well in reading. Statewide, highest growth since COVID in reading. Now, that doesn't mean we're the highest performing. It just means we had the best growth, particularly among larger school districts. And larger school districts we think about 10,000 kids or better. We're about 15,000, so we fit as a large school district. So look, that says a whole lot about the kids we have, right? That they were diligent and worked hard, and more importantly, the teachers. So
you guys went back a little earlier, if I recall, though, right? Didn't y'all go back to the classrooms earlier?
Well, not for COVID. We kind of, once we broke around March, we kind of out
the rest of the year.
Through the rest of the year and into the summer. So we started back.
I guess the key is to have a hurricane in the middle there. And
look, that's another little roadblock or hurdle we had to get over, right, was Ida. And then we had some, other opportunities of learning that were missed. But I think, look, and I give credit to Mr. Martin, my predecessor. He got back in quick, we got back into school very quickly. We tried to remediate as best we could. We got kids back in. We still had a lot of ongoing projects, but he kind of thought that for the community to kind of start rebounding, kids in school made a big difference, and we did that. And learning kind of continued as soon as they got in. So that was a big factor in this.
That's great, and I'm glad you recognize the teachers and the pupils and the parents. That all goes together. Nobody can pick one thing out.
Right.
It's always those things.
So those things, and then it's really everybody.
And the kids,
and the kids and everybody else, even outside of the classroom. It takes everybody to make a school system run. So we're proud of everyone, for that recognition.
No, that's so good to see. And so how do you build on that and to make sure that y'all continue to develop after?
So I think the thing that we do well, I think we don't worry about chasing awards or you just teach standards, teach them very diligently. And look, we've kind of shifted gears a little bit, and we've given teachers autonomy. You know, they were asking, you know, for let us be creative. We came into this job so that we can make the classroom our own, you know? And we heard them loud and clear, and we're going to go that route. And our one rule is this: we've got a set of standards from kindergarten through 12th grade. You know, everything's aligned. We call it, they're vertically aligned from kindergarten all the way through 12th grade. Teach your standard however you want to teach it. We'll give you a resource. Use it if you want. And most of them are using the resource we give them. But if they want to stray because they've got a better way to do something or a more creative way, why not?
Right.
They're the experts. We trust them. And it's I think, going to pay dividends for kids, not about numbers and scores, for kids and learning.
Look, and I'm glad to hear you say that, because you know, my wife's a teacher. I've been following education for a long time. It became you were teaching the test or doing notes, because everything was so test oriented, right? All you scores, all this test. So it all started to become that, to let the teachers, you know, they had a strict curriculum they had to follow. Right. To watch teachers that are really good perform good is the way to go. And I'm glad we're back to that.
Yeah. And we term it just teach.
Right.
Just teach. Teach your standards however you want to teach it. And we want them to have fun, right?
Right.
Have fun. Kids want to have fun. You know, you can see when kids are not having fun, and that's cue to kind of shift gears and kind of get them back engaged in what's happening.
There's a lot of hurdles for teachers, right? I mean, salaries, different things, you know, discipline, those kind of things. But you're 55, I'm almost 65. I can still remember the best teachers in my career from when I was a kid, right? And they make such an impact on kids' lives,
That's
right? I'm sure you remember those teachers as well, right?
Yeah, and look, kids want to know that a teacher cares about them, number one, right? But they also want to know, and part of caring about them is, does my teacher just want to help me? You know, that goes so far with a kid. Do they want to help? Are they willing to stay after school or stay after class and help me individually? That goes a long way. And that makes a good teacher in a lot of cases, you know. Simple things, right?
When I do Et Brute, I remember something from, you know, Bill Shakespeare, you know.
Right.
I can remember that teacher. So let me take a break. We'll be right back with more Bayou Time right after this.
Today's social media segment is brought to you by Alford and Associates for all of your insurance needs. CIS, Cardiovascular Institute of the South, the highest quality cardiovascular care available. Barker Honda, the Barker family tradition of quality.
Hey, welcome back to Bayou Time. Harry McCullough here. We're spending some time with Bubba Ogeron, the Terrebonne Parish School Superintendent. We talked about what a great honor it is to close that gap. You guys doing number one in the country after COVID. But then we had that hurricane. And now you've been more of a construction management superintendent here the last 3 or 4 years after the Hurricane Ida that came through here. You guys are going to in the process of doing 4 new schools besides rebuilding almost every school in the territory.
That's right, yeah. Brand new.
Yeah. So update us on the facility.
Yeah, so matter of fact, today we are going to bid for South Terrebonne Middle. So that one's coming. That's going to be a combination of LaCache. LaCache, as most people know, was total lost, right? So we're not going to rebuild there. And what a lot of people don't know or may not know is that LaCache and Montague Middle, they were combining for years with athletics and band because they were just kind of a little too small to kind of have their own sports teams. So we're going to take advantage of that while we're building a new LaCache. We're going to combine them on property we have right adjacent to South Terrebonne High School. So if I'm looking at South Terrebonne High School from the highway, right to the left or the north, we have property there, school board property. We're going to build a middle school that's going to house 5th to 8th graders from LaCache and Montague Middle. And it's going to bid today. So that's exciting.
That's awesome.
So it goes to bid 30 days. We'll get a contractor. We should break ground. Yeah. Should probably break ground this summer. So 2 years from that, we should be in that building.
That's awesome. So anybody from 5th to 12th grade will be right there on that campus.
Right there on that spot. That's right.
Which, when you see playing communities, they seem to do an elementary, a middle, and high school almost all in the same
It's very,
location.
very common. Yeah. Yep.
And I know folks down the Bayou are sensitive about, maybe traveling those roads but they're going to be there at high school anyway. Just
That's right.
doing
Yeah.
a few years.
Yeah, a few years ahead of schedule.
So talk about some of the other.
So tonight we have a committee meeting and we'll talk and show some plans for Upper Little Caillou. See, that one has already been demolished and it's awaiting to have a building built on it. And it's an interesting design because of the flood restrictions. We've got to build that school like 16 foot high.
16. Wow.
So I mean, that's part of that is foundation slab, and then you go up another 12 foot. So it's going to look almost kind of like a camp in
Grand Isle, like Grand Isle's high school.
Yes. So that's coming tonight. We'll talk about Grand Caillou Elementary and Upper Little Caillou. They're going to be almost identical buildings, positioned a little differently on the property, but on the same site. We're trying to fix them so that we have a lot more room for parents to drop off kids, because a lot of parents are driving their kids to school. And at Upper Little Caillou was a problem. They were lining up along the highway. So we're going to try and get them off the highway, drive onto the property, and make a big turnaround. So we'll reposition the building a little bit. But all that's going to be discussed tonight by the two architects. We have Andy Positeri. He's working on Upper Little Caillou, and Merlin Liret's working on Grand Caillou Elementary. So we're excited about those two. And then not long after that, architect Craig Hebert is working on the plans for Ellender. So we have a new Ellender being designed.
So it has to be raised as well?
It's inside the flood.
Okay. Yeah.
Map, so it kind of fits. Kind of interesting that the map is like almost an exact ring around the old school. So we've got to kind of stay in that footprint. So it's been demolished. If you haven't passed by, that one's gone. We're going to build right back on top of that existing site.
Yeah, that works out pretty good though. Like I said, you can see it at Grand Isle, but you can have a lot of activities underneath the school that
and that's
provide a shelter.
That's exactly what we'll do at those two elementary schools.
And then you just go up to the classrooms.
That's right.
So you can do a lot of those, but that's the way of the world, right? I guess we were talking about that. That is a lot of what you have to do too, right? You got to get FEMA contracts, make those specs right, make all those things so you get reimbursed.
Yeah,
right?
and look, if I'm FEMA, I understand that too. Prevent this from happening again, so build it up so you don't flood. Although these two weren't flood situations, but there's always that potential, right?
Sure.
If you get a big hit.
And people are used to that by now, right?
Yeah,
It's been a while. We're used to doing that. So almost every school had some kind of construction on it, right? 4 brand new ones, right? But are most of them up to speed now, or are we still working on those?
Yeah, we're pretty close. I mean, we're putting the final touches on Oak Lawn. If you haven't passed on Grand Caillou Road over there, it's really a beautiful looking building. It's transformed.
Right.
So we're still kind of doing some work in the gym. We're changing out bleachers and a whole new front office redesign, exterior, interior. We're doing lighting. And I've said that many times, changing out lights makes such a difference, So that was like, to me, the final piece at Oak Lawn. We did floors, walls, lighting. We got a grant to change out the lighting. So that's happening like right now. Yeah. So that was looking really good. Then the next big project is Terrebonne High. So I know we've talked about that one here before. But
so that building's almost 100 years old, probably 80s, 90s, or whatever. So what's going to go on there?
So we're gonna touch every aspect of Terrebonne High. Probably beginning. It's a big discussion, right? There's a lot happening, but probably beginning with athletics and the band. So every piece you move is a domino that falls. So. We're going to move band from under the stadium on the visitor side where it's at, put it in the library, move the athletic facility, football in particular, where band's at, enhance that, make it brand new. I'm not going to say state of the art, but really, a facelift to what they have from right now. And then we'll touch labs, classrooms, front office safety, security, new library, cafeteria work, restrooms, which are really in pretty rough condition. We're going to gut them and redesign them. A lot going on there. Big project. That's going to start as soon as late summer.
Wow.
So we're close to getting started with that facility.
All great news, man. Again, congratulations on closing the
thank you.
gap,
Thank
being
you.
number one in the country. So, Bubba, thanks so much for being with
All
us.
right. Thank you.
All right, we'll be right back with more Bayou Time right after this.
Today's social media segment is brought to you by Terrebonne General Health System. Your health is our legacy. Rouse's, you're either local or you're not. Buick, the craft of modern luxury. St. Martin and Bourke, know your rights.